Bonjour classe! Bienvenue à cette semaine dans la classe de français 1. This week we are looking at lesson 14, which as you can see begins with the verb aller, to go. So we're going to learn how to talk about places we can go, things we're going to do. We're going everywhere this week. So get your textbook, get something to write things down on to take a few notes, and let's get started. All right, we're starting with aller. This verb means to go. It is found in your textbook on page 206. And we'll just start off with the verb itself. Look at this verb aller. Look at the different conjugations. Écoutez et répétez après moi. Je vais. Tu vas. Il va. Elle va. Nous allons. Vous allez, ils vont, elles vont. Now take a look at the spelling of this verb first and foremost, and what kinds of patterns do you see? Do you notice that with je vais, tu vas, il va, elle va, they all start with the letter V? And then when we get over to the other side, the plural side with nous and vous, it changes. Nous allons, vous allez. But that should look very familiar because that comes from the infinitive, aller, right up here. Nous allons, vous allez is the same as the infinitive aller. And then when we conjugate with il and elle plural, it switches back to starting with the letter V. Ils vont, elles vont. So, this is what we call a shoe verb in French. And I'm going to see if I can do this little highlighter thing here, if this will work. Oh, it just highlighted the background. Well, that was nice. When you actually circle the words that are spelled with the letter V, the verb conjugation, so I'm just doing the circle thing, so bear with me here. Circle the conjugations that start with the letter V. It forms the shape of a shoe. It really does. It's like a big old clown shoe. Nous and vous are left out here by themselves. They're not in this shape. They're not in this circle. But what we say about nous and vous is they are the laces of the shoe because they tie back to the infinitive. Get it? This would be a lot easier if I had the actual Promethean board in front of me, but hopefully you can get the idea. And maybe if you print this paper out on your own or just write the conjugation out in a chart just like I have it here and circle the conjugations that start with a V and you'll see that shape of the shoe, and then draw the little lace strings, the laces for nous and vous because they tie back to the infinitive. So that's just a little trick to remember how these conjugations change, okay? One more time. Je vais, tu vas, il va. You'll also see there's a pattern here that's familiar with the AIS, kind of like the verb faire. And you'll notice that it kind of gets shorter as you go. Vais has 4 letters, va has 3 letters, il va, even though it sounds the same, those crazy French, it only has 2 letters, so it gets shorter and shorter for your spelling. And then over here on the plural side, you should also recognize ONS, EZ, ONT, just like ils sont for être, or ils font for the verb faire, or ils vont for the verb aller. Okay, so we have some actual patterns that you've possibly, hopefully, remembered from before. And all of this means to go. So when we say je vais, I go, or I am going. And we'll see that use of it a little bit later. Tu vas, you go, or you are going. Over here, nous allons, we go, or we are going. Now, to use this verb effectively, you already have quite a few different places that you learned around town from last week. So you can go back to last week's video, go back to last week's chapter in your textbook and see we learned places like l'école, to school, l'église, to church, le cinéma, the movie theater, right? Le musée, the museum. Now, unfortunately, in these times of quarantine, we're not going many places, but we can look ahead to the future. Where might we get to go soon, hopefully soon, when things start to settle down. To talk about where you're going to, you need another word. And so that's going to be found in your textbook on page 208. Oh, I need to move myself out of the way a little bit here. Whoa! I know I'm blocking some of this. There we go. So you need to know how to say to. The very simple way to say to in French, not the number two, but to a place, is à with the accent grave. It means to, it means at, it means in, it means a lot of things. In this case, though, we say, for example, I live in Paris, j'habite à Paris, or he's going to Chuck E. Cheese, il va à Chuck E. Cheese. So there it is, the word to. If you want to say you're going to the place, for example, to the movies, or to the park, or here my example says to the pool, or at the pool, it's à la piscine. You just say to the, very simple. However, if the place you're talking about is masculine, you do not say à le. Look down here. Instead of saying à le, you combine those. It's a contraction. And you form one word, the word au. So you would say, I'm going to the park. Je vais au parc. I'm going to the movies. Je vais au cinéma, etc. À la is for all of your feminine places. If you're going to a feminine place, you're going to say je vais à la piscine, je vais à l'église, je vais à l'école. And if you're going to a place that is plural, for example, les magasins, you're going to more than one store, doing a lot of shopping. Je vais au magasin, A-U-X. Notice it's pronounced the same. So we have three different ways to talk about where we're going. To the masculine place is au. To the feminine place is à la. And to the many different plural places is also au, A-U-X. So you can use this to do some of the practice. I think later on in this slideshow, we'll talk about this part in a moment, but I'm skipping past it. Where are you going? If you wanted to do some practice on your own, okay? Fill in the conjugation of aller and notice that it says au parc, to the park, au magasin, to the store. But it says à la piscine, to the pool. And I have another one here for you where I've done aller already. Ils vont, il va, elle va, but you have to fill in the word that means to the. So this is masculine, it would be au stade, au musée. Go down here, bibliothèque is feminine, à la bibliothèque. Okay, so a couple ways to practice those new skills. Now, of course, the best thing to do with this is to go back and look at your vocabulary from last week, but we should probably learn some new vocabulary this week as well, right? So if you bump on over to page 210 in your textbook, you will see there are all kinds of places you can go. And some of them are actual physical places, and some of them are also events, okay? So in your book, you have these words, un endroit, which means a place, un événement, which also means an event. Un concert, that's a concert. Un film, just a film, a movie. Un match, a game, like these guys right here, playing their game. I'll move so you can see them a little better. Oui. Un pique-nique, can you guess what that one is? Oui, très bien. Un rendezvous. I have this over here because a rendezvous, we sometimes think of it in terms of, oh, ho, 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 rendezvous, like a hot date. But it doesn't always mean a date. It can also just mean an appointment or a meeting. So the word rendezvous is used in a pretty generic way in French. You also have une boum. I think we've learned that one before. It's a party because the music's always going boom, 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 une boum, right? Yeah. Une fête is another word for a party, like a festival. Une soirée is sort of a fancier party that takes place in the evening. So with those words from page 210, you can also look at these pictures and label them. Where are these people going? Use this to quiz yourself. Use this to practice. And when you talk about where people are going, you also want to know how they're going to get there. Comment aller, how to go there. So here are a few different ways you can go places. Je vais au pied, on foot, au pied. Je vais à vélo, on a bike. Je vais en voiture, in a car. Je vais en bus, on a bus. Je vais en train, on the train. Et je vais en taxi, in a taxi. And these are also on page 210, so you can see how to get places as well as the different places you're going to go. That's it. It's a pretty short lesson this week. Really focus on learning that verb aller. It comes in handy. Oh, I said that's it. There is actually one more thing because I forgot. We can use aller to talk about what we're going to do. So for that, you want to turn to page 212 and notice how they use aller to say what's going to happen. Travel in time. We can now time travel, you guys. Je vais parler. I'm going to talk. Tu vas jouer au foot. You're going, tu vas, to play soccer. Il va étudier. He's going to study. Elle va travailler. She's going to work. Nous allons arriver. We are going to arrive à 10 heures. Vous allez visiter. You are going to visit. Ils vont rentrer. They are going to return. Et elles vont rester. They are going to stay. So you see how it's used just like in English. You say, je vais, I'm going. And then you use the infinitive of whatever it is you're going to do. I'm going to talk. Tu vas jouer. Notice we conjugate aller, tu vas, but then we use the infinitive, just the regular ER form, the original form of the verb, to say to play. Il va, he is going. You have to conjugate aller, but then étudier, you don't have to conjugate. And this is a very simple rule. When two verbs go walking, the first one does the talking. The first verb gets conjugated. The second one does not. And we do that same kind of thing in English as well. You can even say, I'm going to go. What would that be? I'm going to go. Je vais aller. And that is the story of aller. All right? Work on that. Use this. It'll be posted, of course, on Google Classroom. And I'll also put a couple workbook pages out there for you to practice. Thank you to everyone who has been submitting stuff, who's been continuing to participate in our Google Classroom. I love hearing from you via email, via Google Classroom, so keep it up, keep learning French, and I'll see you next time. À bientôt. Au revoir.